We are in the midst of OTAs and the end of Dynasty Rookie Draft season, so I felt it'd be valuable to bring you guys a look back on the 2025 class and project how they might perform heading into year 2, specifically today at the quarterback position. I'll be using rookie season stats, advanced analytics, as well as situational changes to help assess whether a player is over, under, or correctly valued on the market. So without further ado, I'm John, you're watching John Talks Ball, and let's get into it. Alrighty, so the first player I'm going to be covering in today's video is Cam Ward, former first overall pick to the Tennessee Titans in the 2025 draft. With Cam Ward, he threw for 3,169 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions across his rookie year. A lot of people called that a down year for a first overall pick. Statistically, that definitely is true. However, you have to add in the context with a guy like Cam Ward, specifically because he led the league in time sacked at 55 behind a terrible offensive line group. If anyone watched the Titans in 2025, you'd know exactly what I mean. It was a bit of a disaster watching Cam Ward run for his life behind that line. Additionally, his weapons group was incredibly lackluster to say the very least, consisting and led by Shough Okonkwo, followed by Alec Ayomanor, Chim Dike. Calvin Ridley was there as well, but he was barely in the lineup as he was dealing with injuries all year. But overall, the Titans made a strong turn in the right direction in this offseason, adding different weapons such as Wan'Dale Robinson and Carnell Tate with the 4th overall pick in the previous draft. And altogether with Cam Ward, the ecosystem is just looking really friendly. They brought in offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, as well as head coach Robert Saleh, which should add a bit better of a floor to this team for a franchise that's been a bit of a disaster in recent years. With the new coaches and the new weapons, we see that Vegas is projecting Cam Ward to pass for 3,300 yards and 18.5 touchdowns, definitely a step up from his rookie season, and we know that those numbers bake in the odds of injuries occurring and other miscellaneous stuff because we know the NFL is absolutely wild. So, with Cam Ward, he's currently ranked at 50 overall on Keep Trade Cut, and I do believe that number is starting to creep down after the hype of Carnell Tate and the Brian Daboll signing are slowly disappearing. So I do think Cam Ward is going to be undervalued on the Dynasty market right now. Personally, I have him ranked overall at player 43 in startup type rankings, and I do think you should be going and looking at what you can do to acquire Cam Ward in your leagues. He does have some upside as a scrambler, and there is a direct quote from their current offensive coordinator stating that they're interested in getting him to run the ball a little bit more. So Cam Ward has a lot of potential ceiling as as a fantasy quarterback, and is someone I'd be looking into acquiring for your rosters. Let's move in to the second player of today's video. Alrighty, moving into our second player of today's video, it's going to be Jaxson Dart, quarterback of the New York Giants. But before we get into Dart, if you're enjoying the video this far, hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty. That'll let me know you guys want to see the running backs version of the Sophomore Searches video. With that being said, let's move into Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart put up 2,272 passing yards, 15 passing touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions in his 12 starts, being able to add 487 rushing yards and 9 rushing touchdowns as well. With Jaxson Dart, we know his primary issue was actually being able to stay healthy while running the ball. He was taking some massive hits throughout the late stretch of the season that was certainly concerning to see, but the talent is definitely there. We know under John Harbaugh, the Ravens became a very solid franchise for the last decade plus, managing to win a Super Bowl as well. I think the Harbaugh influence will be great for Jaxson Dart, but he's already ranked very aggressively on Keep Trade Cut, sitting at player overall 27. He's player overall 28 in my rankings, meaning that I do believe he's properly ranked for Dynasty Superflex leagues. We know a lot is changing in that room. Matt Nagy comes in as the offensive coordinator. That's not exactly something I'm super excited about. Additionally, the weapons is a little bit suspect for Jaxson Dart as it stands. We know Malik Neighbors has been having a bit of those mysterious knee issues coming off of that late ACL surgery, and the top weapons for Jaxson Dart at this point looks like Darnell Mooney, Odell Beckham Jr., Juju Smith-Schuster, Malachi Fields, the rookie in the 3rd round of this year's draft. Overall, just a tad concerning for a guy who is definitely still a developing passer, but we do know that the defense for the Giants isn't likely to be amazing. It's a lot of young players. They just traded Dexter Lawrence, who was one of the best, if not the best, nose tackle in the entire league. So we could see a bit of what I've been calling a Bengals or a Cowboys effect, where fantasy points are just skyrocketed thanks to the fact the defense is just so miserable. They do have some nice pieces like Arvell Reese and Abdul Carter, but I do think they're about a year away from having a strong defense. So, with Jaxson Dart, as I said before, I do believe he's properly valued. If you can acquire him on the cheap, that is something I'd be interested in doing, given the fantasy upside flashes he's provided, as well as just being in general, good quarterback throughout his rookie season. So, with that being said, let's move on to our third quarterback of today's video. Alrighty, so our third and possibly most intriguing case at quarterback for this upcoming season is going to be Tyler Shough, who put up 2,384 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions throughout his kind of short rookie season. He ended up starting mostly games in the back half of the 2025 season, but there is a lot to like about Tyler Shough's profile heading into year 2. We know that Kellen Moore and the offensive staff is still in place, and they run one of the highest pace offenses in the entire league, throwing the ball a ton. Kellen Moore has been well known for throwing the ball everywhere he's went, whether that be the Cowboys, the Chargers, and eventually to the Eagles when they made that Super Bowl run in 2024. Kellen Moore has done a ton of positive things for players at the quarterback position, and I think that's why Las Vegas has Tyler Shough's lines very, very aggressively high, having him set to throw about 3,650 yards. That's more than Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward, even like Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. This is telling us a lot about how much confidence Vegas has in Shough in this upcoming season, as well as what they think about this weapons group going into the year. He's going to be throwing to Chris Olave and Jordan Tyson, the rookie 8th overall pick in this prior draft, as well as having Travis Etienne to pass to in the backfield and create a run game that was just really not there for the Saints in the 2025 season. I do believe because of all these factors, Tyler Shough is certainly undervalued, going at 73rd overall on Keep Trade Cut. In my personal rankings, he's sitting at player overall 65. There is a gap there where I think I value quarterbacks a little bit more than consensus, but Shough's just a guy that's going to put up points in your lineup, not a guy you should be overthinking that much. He does have some to prove in year 2, but I think we saw that he's certainly capable of being a fantasy productive guy, as well as kind of a point guard quarterback who can operate the offense. He has the full faith of Kellen Moore going into year 2, and is a guy I would definitely be looking into buying if you can get a good price on him. Now, let's move into some honorable mentions for today's video. Alright, before we move into the honorable mentions and close out today's video, I wanted to mention the John Talks Ball community Discord is live. That's going to have free access to myself for Dynasty advice. I'm helping a lot of people out with their startups over there right now, as well as the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos, and free roster breakdowns for the first few people that pop over there. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there and helping you guys win in 2026. Now, let's move in to some honorable mentions at the quarterback position going into year 2. Alrighty, before we wrap up today's video, I did feel like it was worth giving some of these year 2 quarterbacks an honorable mention, so let's start with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders ended up starting games near the end of the 2024 NFL season, and he kind of just sucked. There's not much of a better way to put that. He was very inefficient with the football, turned it over quite a few times. He's now in a quarterback competition with Deshaun Watson, so not much to really be excited about with Shedeur. I bet he's still overvalued on the Dynasty market, specifically considering his name value. If he starts, which he very much might in this upcoming season, considering there's no quarterback worth starting all year in Cleveland, I would just flip him immediately. Hopefully you can get a second or something when he's starting. Similar story with Jalen Milroe, except he's just completely buried. It's unlikely we'll see him start at all, considering he's behind a Super Bowl winning quarterback and a very, very talented backup in the form of Drew Lock. So he's kind of just dead at this point, unfortunately. If you can get something for Milroe, that would be interesting to me, even something like a 3rd round pick. With Quinn Ewers, he came on late in the 2024 season, starting games for when Tua was benched. Tua was abysmal, and Quinn Ewers was slightly better than Tua. It wasn't exactly inspiring, and Ewers was a 7th round pick in a brand new coaching staffed regime, so not really much going on there, and not really someone I'm particularly interested in holding. With Will Howard here, I do think he's the most interesting of these 4 guys, specifically considering the fact that the Steelers are rostering 4 quarterbacks right now in the form of Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, and Drew Aller. It's very, very unlikely we see the team go into the season with 4 quarterbacks on the roster. Just doesn't really happen. So we know Rodgers has locked up a roster spot, and Drew Aller has as well for the most part, considering he was a 3rd round pick. They're not just going to cut him outright. But it has been stated that Drew Aller is essentially relearning how to play the quarterback position, so it's hard to imagine he would be the immediate backup if Rodgers went down. So, if Will Howard ends up making this roster in place of Mason Rudolph, he actually becomes interesting as the team's backup, and is certainly someone I wouldn't let go. And that concludes today's honorable mentions, and let's move on to the end of the video. As always, I hope you enjoyed my video covering sophomore surges and potential quarterbacks we could see break out in a big way going into year 2. If you liked the video, hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video. And check out the John Talks Ball community Discord, where I'm giving free advice to anyone who supports the show. So with that being said, I'm John, you're watching John Talks Ball, and I hope you have a great day.